Hi there, my name's Rob Poyton. Welcome to the Dragon's Teeth Gaming channel. So I thought for this first video I'd give you a brief introduction to myself and also tell you about some of the things we've got planned for the channel in the coming months. So I started gaming proper in the mid-70s. I guess like most kids of my generation, I grew up with Airfix kits and soldiers, Action Man, all that kind of stuff. And in the mid-70s I joined a local war games club and started doing tabletop wargaming and also getting into modelling as well. In the late 70s and into the 80s, of course, there was a huge boom in RPGs, role-playing games, so I also got into that. In fact, I drifted out of the tabletop for a while and got into playing role-playing games and also various types of board game as well. In the sort of mid-90s I moved out of London, lost a lot of touch with my old gaming friends, and in fact it wasn't till maybe a few years ago, well just sort of pre-lockdown into lockdown, that I was going through my shed one day, more about that later on, and I started unboxing a lot of my old gaming stuff and thought wouldn't it be great to get back into this again. So that sort of rekindled my interest in the RPG and tabletop side. And about 6 months ago I discovered that there was a group quite local to me, the Bedford Gladiators, and so I've joined that group, and that's now where I do the bulk of my gaming, both RPG and tabletop. My main day job for the last 20 years or so has been as an instructor. I teach health, fitness, well-being, martial arts, self-defense, that kind of thing. And I'm also an author. I've published non-fiction and fiction books, and in my spare time I'm also a musician, though a lot of that has tailed off, as you can imagine, post-lockdown. So the sort of thing we've got planned for the channel are going to be looking at particular eras or types of wargaming, Second World War, Ancients, Fantasy, etc, etc. Some of the different role-playing systems that I've played and used, same for the board games. But then I also want to look at taking excursions to different places. I live in North Bedfordshire now. I'm originally from London, but here in sort of Bedfordshire and this area in general, there's an awful lot of history relating to the Vikings, relating to the English Civil War, relating to the Second World War, and so on. So one thing you're going to be seeing on the channel is visits to certain places, little excursions to talk about the local military history, and perhaps we'll get further afield as well. Alongside that I'll be looking at gaming sessions, doing battle reports from gaming sessions, trying out some rules and reviewing rules, looking at hints and tips on things like painting, creating scenery, all that other stuff that goes into tabletop gaming as well. And I think one of the things that has kept me interested in gaming for so many decades, I don't want to think how many, is that it is a very wide and all-encompassing hobby, and it draws on all these different areas of interest as well. One other thing, it seems that there are a huge amount now of regular wargaming events, be they one-day or weekend conventions, and again that covers tabletop games, role-playing games, ball games and so on. So I'm going to try and get to as many of those as I can and bring you reports from those, hopefully get some interviews with some of the people there, look at what's happening on the scene, looking at some of the new products coming out and so on. So I mentioned eras earlier, or different types of wargaming, because wargamers tend to pick maybe one or two or perhaps three eras, and that's what they'll specialise in their gaming. So they might choose Napoleonics, they might look at Ancients, they might work at Second World War, and of course everyone is free to try everything, but most of us only have so much time, so much space and so much money, of course, to buy our armies. So I'm going to present each of the eras that I'm interested in, and what I'm going to do is take you through some projects I'm working on from start to finish. So that will include videos where I unpackage new figures, and then you can follow through how I clean those figures up or maybe do conversions on them, get into painting them, basing them, then into perhaps making specific terrain for that era, looking at the various rules we might be using, and then leading all the way up to actually putting those models on the table and following some of the battles or games that we use them for. Now, I mentioned the shed earlier because I am blessed here with quite a big man shed, and one of my major projects for this year, well, it's been a major project for the last few years to be honest, but it's such a big job, it's one of those that I have to finish it if I start it. Basically, I want to clear the whole shed out. I've got a huge amount of music gear in there that I've accumulated over the years. Most of it I don't use anymore, so I want to try and clear all that out, tidy the whole shed up, and then convert that into a gaming room. So basically I can have a table set up in there, I can have everything out on display, because of course that's not always possible when you live in a house that you share with the person or other people and space can be a bit tight. So that's going to be another project that you'll be able to follow along with as well. That's pretty much it for now for the intro. As I said before, I will be putting up a film soon that details my whole gaming history and background. I really want to use this channel to share hints, tips, advice, give some ideas, and really also to share my enthusiasm for gaming, because I do think it's a fascinating hobby, and it's one that I found, especially these days, is very inclusive. Anyone can come and try it. There's so many different types of game out there, whether they be using figures or board games or even live action role playing stuff. That's something I've never tried. There's this huge range of games that anyone and everyone can have a go at. Also, please do feel free to get in touch and share your own ideas and thoughts with me as well. I'll probably look in the future at setting up a Discord server. There'll be an email address linked below, so I want this to be a two-way sort of communication as well. And perhaps in the future we'll look at setting up a YouTube membership channel, or maybe a Patreon page for people who want to get involved with the channel further. Okay, on that note, I'm going to wrap up now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the channel. If you do, please like, share and subscribe, and do get in touch with any thoughts and suggestions, and I'll see you next time.